Well, so that's National Security Minister Albert speaking a while ago, but there's a need for us to explore the matters further. In fact, what's the best strategy for government to adopt in this very challenging times? Joining me in studio now is security analyst Adib Saani. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It's, of course, now official. If you see something, say something. That's how government is terming this awareness creation. For you, what should be paramount?
Well, I see something, say something is similar to the U.S. Department of State for Homeland Security, their slogan. If you get to the U.S. at train stations, you see it written all over the place. I think it's a good call. It's a timely intervention because I've always said that there's absolutely no way government can do it alone. National security ministry cannot do it alone. They need the people to be part and parcel of that whole initiative or strategy. In the past, there's always a tendency to, as it were, keep the threat under wrap because perhaps they didn't want to create fear and panic. But it took the intervention of CSOs to draw the attention of the nation to the fact that the threat is looming and it has become dire than we have ever seen before in the history of Ghana. In the US, for example, at the end of every year, there's what they call annual threat assessment, which is available to the general population for them to not just understand but appreciate the threats and what they can do at the individual and community level to complement government efforts. So it is a great intervention, but I'm hoping that there's a strategy to implementing this effectively.
And I'm sure you've heard this. On countless occasions, the argument has been, why not focus on the security agencies? Because in the end, they have that primary responsibility of protecting the citizens.
Well, they are also an important stakeholder, but the most important stakeholder to this is the citizens. Most of the intelligence they get are from civilian sources, and we cannot have security operatives everywhere all the time. Hence, the need to make the people very much an integral part of the whole process. The terrorists are in our communities. They are our neighbors. They are our siblings. They are our fathers. They are our mothers. What would motivate me to give out one of my own? So you see, they always hide under the cover of the communities. But now we have to get the communities to understand that this security thing we are doing is to ensure your own safety. Okay, so that's why I find this important because, like I always say, there is no way government can do this alone.
And since government can't do this alone, obviously there'll be some demands on the side of the public. What should we be doing to complement the government's effort? We heard the National Security Minister talking about the need for the citizenry to participate in this program. What should we be doing to help that cause?
Well, in the past, the National Security Ministry, I don't know whether it is a PR gone wrong, made it look like a mysterious organization. No, but you are there to serve the people. And we have elements, different elements of security. We have the overt part and the covert. Okay? So maybe, fine, with the covert, it's not the football game, so you don't expect live commentary. Yeah. But there is some information that people need to know. If they don't know, how would they understand? How would they appreciate? How would they own? That is why information is extremely key. Right. And going forward, I would expect the National Security Ministry to collaborate with civil society organizations. When I go...
You feel that's not happening enough?
It's not good enough. Absolutely. I don't want to use certain words, but they've performed abysmally at that. And unfortunately, I've also come to one realization. A lot of the top people there are so emotional. So when you criticize them, then they begin to have issues. But it is the best answer to this. I mean, there's no help as good as being criticized because you will definitely be helping them to do their work.
Party colors in this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely, because this is about the safety of the country. I'm not sure when the terrorists come in, they are going to ask whether you are an NDC or NPP before they attack you. The unfortunate thing also is we've had to wait for some time before coming out with this initiative. As a result, the focus has now shifted from just border security to homeland security. But if we had gotten it right in the past, the focus would have been more on border security. So we are able to prevent these people.
So what you mean to say
in.
is that infiltration has happened, and I've heard you on a number of occasions say on this platform that, for instance, there's a UN report. Correct me.
Yes, yes, there's a
pointing
UN
to the
report.
fact that there's some bases already.
Absolutely. That was published earlier this year. That pointed to a terrorist warehouse. To be specific, ISIS in the Greater Sahara, in Ghana, in Togo, and of course in Benin. So the terrorism threat has been looming for far too long. And I don't want to believe that the National Security Ministry is a firefighting organization, that we had to wait all this while. It had to take the intervention of civil society before we woke up to the fact that, hey, indeed, the danger is looming and we have to be quick to respond. And that is one of the biggest challenges I've had with the whole national security setup in Ghana. We are so reactive rather than being proactive, because the most important element, and the National Security Minister couldn't have gotten it any better. He said that the most important element is preventative. And that is very key. Okay, so if you wait for things to spiral out of control, I mean, we saw all that is happening today, to be honest, should have happened 2 years ago.
Well, anyway, we found ourselves here. My utmost concern is the Ghanaian out there. And we don't want to have a lot of people terrified, I guess, once we're hearing about this conversation on terrorism. So try and break it down for us. Practically speaking, what's the least definition for that situation? What would happen to trigger that alert to say, well, by all standards, this is a terrorist situation, for me to either call the police service or to alert whichever security agency?
Okay, so this is what I expected government to do, rather than just announcing for people to be alert. Right. You and I might make sense of it, but the Makola woman selling tomatoes out there, or the young man selling second-hand clothing at Kantamanto, he wouldn't really understand, owing to the fact that a lot of Ghanaians are not security conscious. I mean, I sell security systems. You see someone put up a multi-million-dollar facility. You ask that he dedicates 5,000 cedis to improve security. He goes like, oh, it's safe, until something happens. So we always wait for something to happen before we react. So I think that it's important to be alert. When someone asks you questions beyond mere curiosity, is this where the minister is? What car does he use? What's the number plate? What time does he come home? What time does he leave home? Something is amiss.
So asking you very, very personal questions.
Very personal questions beyond mere curiosity. We are in the studios of Joy News. It is out of reach to the general population. So what they do is to test your system. So he can behave like he's mistakenly entered your studios. When you catch him, he goes like, oh, I was actually going there, just to test the strength and weaknesses of your facility. And if someone is gathering a lot of multimedia T-shirts, when he has nothing to do with multimedia, perhaps the person is trying to impersonate, okay? If you see a bag that is unattended to, don't assume there's money in it, so it's your lucky day. It could be a bomb, okay? And I would also wish to take advantage of this to appeal to the National Security Ministry to issue directives to management of the various shopping malls to introduce at least metal detector checks.
So this should be mandatory?
Yes, it should be mandatory, because it would add, it's not the ultimate, by the way, just that it would add a bit of a layer of protection to anywhere people gather en masse. As much as we can, we need to add that little layer of protection.
And once we wrap up on this, we understand, and I'm getting that detail now, that the National Security Minister will be visiting the Chief Imam any moment from now. That brings into sharp focus the religious centers and various groupings across the country. What's your expectation of them?
I'm hoping that they educate, especially young people in the mosques, in the churches, because a lot of them are without jobs. I mean, just go to Nima, Mamobi, Jamestown, and the rest. You see them seated under trees from morning up until 2, 3 a.m., talking about everything to how much someone has, you know. They are in a state of uncertainty. They are desperate. So these terrorists don't have to come in person to recruit, but by the power of social media, they are able to get these young people because they take advantage of local grievances. So as much as we can, let us educate young people to be mindful of these people who would promise them heaven and earth. Only for them to get there, they give them suicide vest. At the same time, our religious leaders will also have to tone down. Sometimes the things they say honestly doesn't sound good to my ears. Sometimes some of them look more like an incitement. So as the father of all Muslims in the country, it is a timely visit. So at least we are able to impress on the various imams at the very regional level, the very decentralized level, to be mindful of the things they preach in the mosque. So it doesn't serve as a catalyst.
But you believe that, given the current system we'll be able to weather the storm?
It is a difficult situation, I must say. It is a difficult situation. But there's still that window of opportunity for us to get things done right. But like I indicated, at this time, one of the most important strategic things the National Security Ministry would have to do to make up for the wrongs in the past would be to effectively collaborate with civil society. We are down there. We are in contact with the people. We know what is happening on the ground. When we are able to do that effectively and improve intelligence as well, we should be able to prevent any such thing from happening.
Adib Saani, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us here on the Pulse.
My pleasure.
Now, Parliament is resuming from recess, and this afternoon the Privileges Committee has already served notice that it will definitely commence here